I got to get to my wonderful guest. So for the first time on our show, but I suspect not the last if he's willing, Dr. Leonard Felder is here. He is an amazing, let me just start by saying that he's written several books, appeared on Oprah and CNN and countless other places, is a true expert, and has some amazing things to say that I think will resonate deeply with our community, but really with all communities right now. And we could take a minute to talk about the other books that he's written, including We See It So Differently, and When Difficult Relatives Happen to Good People. Those are just some of his books, so you'll want to check out his library. But this book in particular, Keeping Your Heart Open, the subtitle is How to Overcome the Things That Make Us Numb, Cynical, or Burned Out. I'm telling you that this is the book for this moment in time. I put a thing on my Facebook this morning. I said, are you feeling, checked out? Are you feeling like you are just on another planet and that you are working on a short fuse and you just don't even feel like yourself because of everything that's going on? This is the book. This is the book that he's going to help us to find our way back. So I'm also going to let him tell you what his connection is to the autism community, because it is a beautiful connection that we here at Autism-Live are especially fans of. So let's welcome to the show, Dr. Leonard Felder.
Hi, it's good to talk with you. I really loved the class you just gave me on stimming. I mean, it was so accessible, it was so understandable, and it definitely applies to all people, not just people on the autism spectrum.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited for you to be here. I'm just hoping I don't cry during this interview. That's how excited I am for you to be here. Because this, and I got to look to see if I have my tissue.
My child who has autism, whenever I cry, which I cry often, she throws the box at me. So
I wish we were in the studio, because I would take it. I would totally take it. But that was one of the things that I was going to ask you. It says it on your book jacket, but I didn't want to say it for you. But talk for 2 seconds about what your connection is to the autism community, because it's personal to us.
Well, as a psychologist, I got zero training on how to deal with people with autism. I didn't know anything. And then my wife and I adopted a child. And after a few years, we figured out something's going on here. And then the labels and the diagnosis came. And so we've been in school. We've been in school learning, and it never ends. We're always learning stuff. We always think we know what's going on, but like you said before, sometimes it's a sensory issue, and we think we know what's going on, and then slowly you go, well, wait, what if it's a sensory issue? And then you try to figure out what's going on. So we're learning every day, and my child, whose name is Ilani's teaching me everyday stuff that I need to learn. So like with this book, Keeping Your Heart Open, I'm a compassionate person, I'm a psychologist, but sometimes Ilani says to me, Dad, you're using that soft therapist voice right now, but you are really pissed off and I can smell it. Okay, so it's like, oh my God, I'm so busted. And so I'm realizing every day that if I'm not breathing and if I'm not doing certain things to stay centered, my autistic kid, and autistic kids aren't supposed to be able to read nonverbal cues, take that. That's not true. So she picks up all sorts of stuff that I don't even know I'm sending out. And then slowly I have to trust her. I have to open up. I have to make sure I'm not ruining the situation and making it worse by my own agitation.
Well, I love hearing all of that. And I think it just tells our audience too, that not only are you going to tell us about how we're feeling, but you're coming from a place of understanding baseline of some of what all of us are going through, because we have these children that we love. And we're not always sure that, I think part of it, tell me if I'm wrong here, is that we're not, as you said, no one gave you a class. No one handed me a booklet when my child was born and said, oh, by the way, your child's going to get a diagnosis of something that you're a little bit unfamiliar with. So here's the manual of how to be a parent and how to parent someone who's on the spectrum. Uh-huh. But your daughter is a gift to our community. She's been on the show before, and am I allowed to talk about, why she was on the show and talk about the film? Is that okay?
That's okay. But I just got to tell you, we're always learning more about our kids. So we always knew that our kid possibly was gay, but we didn't know that she was transgender. And then she slowly began to reveal to us just how much she is transgender. And then she was in this wonderful workshop with Jason Weisbrod where they asked everybody to talk about their truth. And it's all people on the spectrum. It's called Spectrum Laboratory. And Ilani said, well, can I make a movie about being transgender and autistic? And Jason said, yes. And so all of a sudden we jumped into another universe, and we got to bump into people like you who said nice things about the film. And all these nice things happened because our kid was willing to tell the truth and other people were willing to listen.
Yeah. Well, and she told the truth in a time and space when the truth needed to be told, and it wasn't being told. It wasn't being told about individuals on the spectrum. There were lots of things that were out there about being gay. There were lots of things about being transgender, but she stepped up and is, I think, one of the bravest pioneers in our community, because she stepped up, and it's just amazing the avalanche of what we've heard from people. But the film, I am one of the biggest fans. I got to elbow other people because there's a long line of people who are big fans. Boys Don't Wear Dresses. I've talked about it before on the show, and I don't know. Sometimes it's available at a festival, but you guys should be Googling it, trying to see it. It's important, and it's beautiful, and it's funny, and it's delightful, and it's short. You have no reasons not to see it. But so that is Dr. Felder's daughter. So he's walking his talk, y'all. And something
I want to say to other parents, though, is like, our daughter is really smart, and she reads at a first grade level. She's 28, but she's brilliant in all sorts of things, including telling the truth about her experience. So if she has somebody else to be the scribe, or if she has a team of people who know how to draw out of her what's going on, and great things can happen from your kid, but sometimes it's going to take a village, and it's going to take, you saying, I didn't even realize this was possible. We didn't realize this stuff was possible. We didn't realize that she could co-author a screenplay.
Yeah. Well, not only could she, but she could co-author an award-winning screenplay that would change the way the world looked at people on the spectrum, and people who are transgender on the spectrum, and people who are gay on the spectrum, and in a big way. Like, that's a whole other show. So, but I just wanted to, because I think people will go, okay, well, Dr. Felder really knows what he's talking about, because like I said, he's walking his talk. So this new book, you sent this to me, and I got to tell you, it was almost like a do kind of thing that I'll get to in a little while here. But I want to talk about this a little bit, because we have so many caregivers, parents who are writing into us on a daily basis, and they are at their wits' end, Dr. Felder. I think you know this, that this pandemic has just taken us all right down to the studs. And when people have kiddos that are on the spectrum, and you get into a moment, people are saying, I'm just not my best self right now. They're not their best selves, and I'm having trouble coping. Tell us, I want people to get this, and I want you, where can they get it? Amazon, right? Is Amazon the best place to get it?
Real easy on Amazon.
But give us some things here for the parent who is in that moment with their child, and their child is having a hard time, and the parent is having that moment where they're like, I don't know if I've got this in me today.
Uh-huh.
What give us some tips from the book and from you about, and give us an idea of how the book helps us to get through those moments.
Well, the book is a whole bunch of tools and methods that have worked for me, worked for other people, and you get to pick which tools you like, which, it's like the question you asked for the day, well, how do you calm yourself? So there's two different ways. I'll answer that one quickly. One is, if you come from the compassion place, if you can remind yourself in that moment, is my heart open? Can I get my heart open? Because my heart isn't open right now. I'm actually feeling very judgmental and impatient, and I got to get this kid out of this store before there's an explosion. If your heart is open, you're going to be a lot more creative. You're going to be a lot more effective. Your kid's going to be able to sense that you're there with them, and you're not the enemy, because your heart is open. They feel the connection. So that's if you can go to the compassion place. If you can't go to the compassion place, that's not your favorite language, but you're an efficient person, you can go to the efficiency place. The efficiency place is, if I breathe And if I talk in a calm voice, it's sincere calm, not fake calm, and if I can connect with what's going on with my kid right now, this is going to last 2 or 3 minutes. If I come from the judgmental place or the I know what's going on and I'm going to tell, or I'm the parent and damn it, you're going to listen to me, that's going to last for hours. I mean, you're going to create a meltdown that's going to last for hours with repercussions and video. So and you might even get to see Child Protective Services at the end of this game. So you don't want that. You want the efficient one, and the efficient one requires either going to the compassion place or saying from the efficiency place, I can breathe here, and I can try to access either my spiritual or my intellectual or some of the things that I was taught by Shannon or somebody else. And I can use those tools right now, because if I don't use those tools right now, I'm dead meat. I'm just, this kid is going to go ballistic, and nobody is going to understand that I'm a good parent and that I'm not really as bad as I look right now.
Yeah, and I so appreciate that. One of the things that I love about the book, it sort of reminded me of the way you have it separated into these headings. It reminded me of Friends, the TV show Friends, because as you go through the book, there's little titles everywhere where it's sort of the heading for what you're about to talk about. And then you'll give tools. But
this is the episode with the breathing, and this is the episode
yes,
with the kind self-talk.
Of course, I'm trying to find one now, and of course, I'm finding everything else. I'm finding all of the options. Okay, right. The woman who finally listened to the parts of her soul that were feeling neglected, right? And you look at that and you go, oh, I think I need to read that one, right? And there are so many of them throughout the book and you can sort of. I mean, I love reading a book cover to cover, but I also like going in and opening up a book and going, okay, what does it say today? The mom with the frustrated teen. So there are all these headings that I think you guys will go, oh, I think he's talking to me. But then you get into your options where just like you did, where you have option 1 and you have option 2. And I love that, because sometimes I think, Dr. Felder, we feel like I don't have any choices. Somebody's strangling me and I have to do this. I have to. And for me, knowing that I have an option, that I can look at it this way, or I can look at it this way, or I can, totally mess this up and, like you said, take twice as long for the day. I don't know. That helps to ratchet my anxiety down, is knowing that I have options. So I really appreciate it that you put it. Okay, the woman who invited her kids to teach her how to be a better mom. I loved that one.
Our kids, they'll teach us. I mean, whether they're verbal or nonverbal, if they've got an iPad, they will teach you what they're irritated by, what you mean. My kid has taught me so much about my tone of voice, when it's patronizing, when it's condescending, when it's impatient. I mean, I'm getting a master class in cleaning up my act from a person who, it probably could not get a teaching credential in California, but she's a damn good teacher.
Yeah. My son took me to school the other day. And let me know how I was not getting the job done. And I'll tell you something, it's humbling. But because I was reading your book, I was able to, have the option of breathing through it and saying, why don't I be open to listening to this? Why don't I be open? Because if what I want is to be the best possible mom to my child, then why don't I be open to hearing what he has to say and not take it personal in terms of beating myself up, but to take it on and go, okay, what is useful here? And can I potentially change what I'm doing to do job number 1, which is to show up for my kid.
Right.
So I'm using
it. You went to the compassion place there, and you're a good compassion person. But if someone's not feeling the compassion, they're just feeling the efficiency, they can say, you know what? My kid's actually offering me a shortcut if I would just shut up and listen. They know the shortcut to save me from making a fool of myself and making this much worse.
Yeah, it's really amazing. The book is incredible. And I think one of the things that's amazing is that it's so current, that you talk about, how we are all feeling right now, and that some of us are feeling numb. Some of us are just like in this haze, where we're not quite sure what's going on. I feel like there's a certain amount of there's even a commercial right now that says, "Oh, isn't it great?" And it shows all these things that you can go do. And they're like, you can go here now and you can go there now and you can see your friends. And isn't it wonderful? And then there's a moment in the commercial where the person takes a breath and says, "Is it just me, or does it seem like it's harder than it was before?"
Oh,
And I,
wow. I didn't
and
see
I,
that. That's great.
and I was like, "What?" But then they continue on and say, "But you still got to try. You still got to do it." I don't even know what the commercial is for, but every time I see it, and they play it a lot during the Olympics, I go, "Oh, it's collective, that we're all struggling a little bit.
Right.
That but this book, I think, is the ticket, you guys, because I think you're all going to find yourselves in many of these stories, and that it's super duper helpful. Whether it's that we're dealing with our kiddos on the spectrum, or let's switch to talk a little bit about for couples, that for, you know, for a lot of years we've talked about, I'm going to talk specifically about parents who have kiddos on the spectrum, that the statistic was that most of us were going to end up divorced. But it isn't true. We've now seen that that is not the case, that some couples get stronger staying together, but COVID has really pushed things and everybody's compassion and dealing with our kiddos. It's put us all in the petri dish a little bit more. So what do you recommend, and talk a little bit about what the book recommends about for couples and this new tension with our kiddos and with each other, because we've all been in this different set of circumstances and are coming out of it.
Okay, I'll give 3 quickies. The first one's based on what you just said before about we've all got shorter fuses. And if we admit it to ourselves and to our significant other, say, I've got a shorter fuse. So forgive me if you start to sense it, but, call timeout, like in a football or basketball game, call timeout, say timeout. And my wife has this great thing she does. She calls it a do-over, where she'll say timeout. Could you try that sentence again without the patronizing tone or without the "you stupid idiot" implication that was underneath, that you were trying to hide, but it was there? I went, oh, okay. I didn't even realize it was there. So the fact that you can give each other as a couple a do-over, you can say, let's try this conversation one more time, only without the "you stupid idiot" part. And then the next thing is, with couples, almost every couple's got a difference. Like there's always one couple who's a neat Nick and one couple who likes to have things casual around the house. Well, there's always one couple when raising a special needs kid where one person says, we've got to get on this right away. We got to make a list. We got to handle everything. We got to bring in all the advisors, and the other person saying, chill. It's going to be fine. They're going to outgrow it. It's going to get worked out, and they want to kill each other from their different styles. Mm-hmm. So what if they actually are balanced with each other and they offer each other something? One of them is saying, there is some stuff we got to focus on. And the other one's saying, but can we do it from a less intense, agitated place? Because the agitation I can't deal with. So if the two of them are talking to each other as partners and teammates who have this balancing style, they can say, this is our fight number one. My wife and I have this fight number, we call it our fight number one, where I will jump to a solution because I'm a Capricorn. Capricorns jump to mountain crags, and they like where they are. My wife is Libra. And she will weigh a decision. She makes great decisions, but she can't be rushed. She has to weigh the decision. Even after she's ordered dinner, she's still looking at the menu and she's wondering, maybe if I change that, so she's still, and she makes beautiful, wonderful decisions as long as I don't rush her or breathe her down her neck. I, on the other hand, need sometimes for the decision to get made. Otherwise I go crazy. So that's our fight number one. If couples can say, this is our fight, we always have this fight when we're trying to talk about what to do with our kid. And the truth is, you're both right. The person who's saying, let's chill, let's try to do it without the intensity and the wringing of our necks. The other person says, let's make sure we focus. The other thing that couples have to worry about is that there's often one person, sometimes the male, sometimes the female, who says, we don't need help. We can figure this out ourselves, because guys, we're not supposed to ask for directions and all that stuff. But the truth is, you can say to your partner, if he or she is someone who says, we don't need any help, we don't need any outsiders, we're not sharing our dirty laundry with anybody, you can say, you know what? You are a great leader. You are a great manager. You are a great decision maker. And we know that the best manager and the best leader is the one who's 1 or 2 or 3 phone calls away from the answer to any question. You don't have to know the answer to the question, but you got to be 1 or 2 or 3 phone calls away. So you're building your cabinet. You're still the president, or we're co-presidents, or we're going to be the presidents, but we got to have a good cabinet. Let's make a good cabinet. Let's ask our cabinet for stuff. We still get to be the president or the co-president who makes the decisions. So when you stroke your partner's ego and say, you're a great leader, a great manager, and we can be 1 to 3 phone calls away from the answer to anything. Now you're working as teammates again. You're able to focus, and the other person's able to say, yeah, maybe we do need some people in our cabinet, not to tell us what to do. Nobody's going to tell me what to do, but we've got advisors.
I love that. That's a much more compassionate place to be coming from. And I think there's a lot of us that, having gotten through all the things that we've gotten through, I see so many marriages that don't make it because we can't get to this place. So it takes two to work on it, but I absolutely love this. I also want to talk to you about in the book, because I think a lot of what I see people experiencing right now is some grief and loss. And sometimes it's specific, maybe they lost a loved one, but time has been lost. And in the time, things got lost. And what I hear people saying is, how do I get back to being hopeful? How do I used to be somebody who believed that good things were going to happen for me and I wanted it for me and I wanted it for other people. But it's so hard when you feel like things, I'm watching the Olympics and seeing all these young people who plan every moment of their training to get to a specific peak at a specific time. And then that dream was deferred for a year. And for some people that worked out, but for some people it didn't. And I see other people who are like, well, I was doing this and I got to this point, but then the pandemic shut it down. How do we get out of this funk? And how do you help us in the book get back to a place where we recognize ourselves as the hopeful people we were once before?
No, that's a wonderful question. And people are losing so many things, not just relatives, not just time, but sometimes you promised your body a relief is coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming out of pandemic, quarantine, or we're going to be able to get some free time where the kid's going to be somewhere besides 24-hour homeschooling, and you promise your body this and it doesn't come, or it gets deferred and postponed. Your body is in grief. Your emotions are in grief. Your soul is in grief. So there's so much that people are sad about. And you have to ask yourself, well, what am I hopeful about? Or what am I able to say, there's some progress there. There's some progress there is a great way to hook into the hope. Did my dreams and my visions come true? Maybe not. But did I make some progress? And when you think about the Olympics, when you were talking just now, who we're going to remember from this Olympics? We're going to remember, I think, Simone Biles. And we're going to remember that somebody who thought everything was about the perfect jump and whether the Russian person also gave her a 6 or a 10 or whatever, she's going to become this incredible spokesperson about how to honor your truth and how to know when your limits are and how to do it with dignity and how to get support from other people when you do that. She's going to become this guru, I think, on how to really, really be a healthy person who aspires and knows when to step back and take a breath. And that's a great teaching we all need right now, which is we aspire to all this stuff. A lot of it gets knocked off track by the pandemic or by our kids being home or whatever it is that's knocked it off. And then you say, but what am I learning and growing and improving even in the middle of that? And if you notice at least 2 things you've improved today, and I have to go back to something you said before about cleaning the house when you're stressed. I once taught a writing class at UCLA Extension. We talked about what gets through writer's block. And for me, it's washing a couple of dishes and getting them in the dishwasher. Is it the warm water that soothes my soul? Is it a sensory thing? Is it the success of this progress? It was a mess in the sink, now it's in the thing. There's something about the progress of it, even accomplishing that. And if I can acknowledge it, if I can say, you know what, that was chaos and now there's a little bit of order. It's still a lot of chaos, but there's a little bit of order. If you can notice the little bit of order or the little bit of progress or the little bit of improvement, your hopeful comes back. And when your hopeful's back, you've got some momentum. You've got momentum, getting a couple of dishes in the dishwasher, and then now I can go back out and write because my writer's block has been broken by the fact that I'm actually not an idiot. I'm not completely shut down. I got the dishwasher on. And now I feel like, wow, I'm in a creative flow again. Anything that gets you into creative flow again, into it self-acknowledging, there are some things I'm making progress about, that gets your hopeful back. And then you set goals that are realistic, or maybe you're going to need more resources. We need resources. We need help. one of the horrible things about the pandemic is all sorts of people who come in to help families couldn't come in because of the COVID. And it's like, whoa, that's the relief pitcher. And I've lost my fastball, my curveball, and my knuckleball. I need a relief pitcher. Help, help, help. Hopefully, there are going to be relief pitchers again. There's going to be somebody who's got good stuff, who's feeling fresh, and we get to then chill for 20 minutes or an hour or 2 hours and get your sense of hearing your own thoughts again.
Well, I just think you're amazing all the way around. I don't think we've ever actually met in person, but I know I've been at a lot of the same events that you've been at. And obviously I've been very aware of, our families have been on these parallel tracks. So to read this, just amazing. What a gift you are and your family is to the autism community. We're reminding people you can go on Amazon and get this, Keeping Your Heart Open, How to Overcome the Things That Make Us Numb, Cynical, or Burned Out. When I opened this package that you sent with this book in it, which I was not expecting, I had a moment, like it just took my breath away for a moment, because almost exactly 11 years ago, I was in my living room and I was not in a good headspace. And I was like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? What I had made a deal that I was going to, I made a deal on my kitchen floor that if the God of my understanding helped me to help my child, that I would make sure that I helped other people. Wow. that I would pay it forward, right? But I didn't know what that looked like, and I was at a little bit of a crossroads, and didn't know what to do, because I felt this very push me, pull you of I had this kid I had to help and this mission that I had to go on because I promised, right? And I happened to turn on the TV because often that's what I do, and Oprah had Keith Urban on her show. And I didn't know Keith Urban at the time, not a country music person, but she was asking him about his relationship with Nicole Kidman. And he said that she had asked him a really interesting question, or that one of them asked the other question, is your heart open? Was the question. And that it took him back, and that I think it was her asking the question. And she said, no, is your heart open? And Oprah said, oh, that is the question. And she said, because whatever your heart is not, you can say you want something till the cows come home, but if your heart isn't open to it, it's not going to happen. It just doesn't show up. And she said, so if you're stuck someplace, you have to ask yourself, what is my heart open to? And then let that flow through you. And I had been sitting there saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, because I want to do this. I want to do something, but I got to be able to be available to my kids. So I don't really want a job, because that it will take me away. I want to be here for my kid. But I sat there and I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. My heart is not open 100%. So what would my heart be? I've never asked myself that question before. Never thought of asking what my heart was open to before, but I sat there and thought my heart would be open to doing something where I could make a difference, where I could still be there for my kid. And I'm not kidding you, within 5 minutes, my phone rang, and it was Dr. Granpeesheh calling to see if I wanted to do this show.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And one of the beautiful parts is just how raw and real and vulnerable you got in order to get that thing to come in. I mean, you really let yourself go there. That's powerful.
But I don't, the expression of is your heart open was not something that was in my life. I think it's in your life, and that you have that on a base, like, that's your base point. But I want to say to people, if you are in a place where that is not a question where you're asking yourself, I want to encourage you to ask it. And I want to encourage you to get the book, to start some of the exercises to get yourself to a point where it is your baseline. But that set me on a road, that thought, and then her calling set me on a road that is why we're sitting here today. But this whole thing about how to overcome the things that make us numb, cynical, and burned out are all the things that I ever talk about. Because I can be in action, or I can be completely numb and overwhelmed and burned out, as so many other parents of kiddos on the spectrum, or people who just have other considerations. So when I opened it, I was like, who wrote this book? I was like, what? they're talking directly to me. What is going on here? And then when I realized who you were, that you were Alani's dad, I was like, oh, well, okay. This makes total sense. So great book, very timely for, I believe, all of us. Certainly for me, I felt like it's that thing of singing my pain with his song. I felt as if he was singing directly to me. I felt like you were singing directly to me, Dr. Felder, which is a sign that you're doing things really well. So thank you for this. Again, people can go on Amazon and get it. Keeping Your Heart Open, How to Overcome the Things That Make Us Numb, Cynical, or Burnt Out. It's truly a book for our times, written by Dr. Leonard Felder, and we thank you for being with us, Dr. Felder.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed this.
Super fun. I look forward to getting to meet you and your wife in person when the pandemic is over.
In person, I have hair. It's just on TV that I'm bald.
Well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I cut my hair again, and you could tell my mental wellness by how short my hair is. And I cut my hair again. I aspire to be bald. It's the thing I want most in life, as witnessed by how I keep cutting my hair off. So there we go. So when we meet in person, you will have hair and I won't.
Okay.
We'll be open and equal and even. All right. Thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody for being here, saying hello to Guadam and to Helen and to Rain. I'm so glad that you guys are all here. We'll be back tomorrow with more Autism Live. We have, it's Temple Grandin Tuesday tomorrow. Can't wait for you to see that. And then live with Dr. Doreen Grant on Wednesday. Thank you again, Dr. Felder. Thank you to all of you. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
Have a good week.